Hi, my name is Afi Rule. I am a sewist. I wear what I make and I can teach you how to wear what you make. So I want to teach you guys today how to sew a patch onto a garment with a domestic sewing machine. Before we actually get started, I want to share with you a few things that you will need and a few tips that I would like you to apply. For reference, this is my project. I'm going to take my husband's company's logo on a patch and sew it onto his bucket hat. For your project, you'll need an iron and an ironing board, thread that matches the background of your patch, the zipper foot from your sewing machine, and of course, your sewing machine. Now I want you to apply these next few tips. Number one, make sure that you wash, air dry, and iron your garment. Next, make sure that you have your patch exactly where you want it on the garment and iron it onto the garment. If it is not feasible, make sure that you place it with stick pins. Okay guys, now it is time to stitch our patch onto our garment. So here I have the bucket hat of my husband's selection. And as you can see, I have placed the patch exactly where I want it onto the hat. And this is the same exact thing that you're going to do with your garment. You want to place it where you want it, as I was saying before. And since this is not an iron-on patch, what I did was I pinned in perfect placement where I want it with just 2 stick pins, 1 and 2. So I only use 2 because, again, I don't want to create like a whole bunch of holes. You know, I just want to make sure that I get it nice and secure without holes, okay? So I'm going to zoom in and I'm going to show you exactly how I pinned it in. What I did was I just pinned it underneath the patch, pretty much just like where the stitching is, and use that to tack it on to the actual garment. And that's the exact same thing that I did for this pin right here on the top. All right, so I'm gonna show you what I did to set up my sewing machine, and then we're gonna start stitching. All right guys, so I have my setup here with my sewing machine, and as I told you before, I have my zipper foot. And you're going to see like 2 sections on your zipper foot if yours is like mine. I chose to connect my foot at the second part on the right side instead of this left part, because that's going to allow me to get closer to the edge of the patch when I'm stitching it on, and you'll see what I mean when we actually start stitching. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this section in here to guide where I'm going with the stitch and then stitch it on. All right, so we're gonna start in just a moment. All right guys, so my garment, as you know from before, is a bucket hat. And so I wanna show you this because it's a little tricky to slide in, and I wanna show you what you do when you get garments that are like that. So you're sliding your garment in, and you just wanna gently pull. And if you need to, you can use your lever from behind that lifts your foot. You see the foot coming up. You want to lift the lever that lifts your foot or brings it down, lift it up, and then slide your garment into place where you want it, okay? So this can be for garments that are bulky, like this is a very sturdy and thicker material. It's kind of like a cotton mix. Cottons can be thicker or thinner depending on, you know, the thickness. But if your garment is a little, you know, sturdier and thicker, then you can do that to make sure that you have a good way to place your garment underneath your foot in between the plate. All right, so now we're going to stitch, and I'm going to walk you through how I stitch on patches with my sewing machine. All right, so I'm just gonna make sure that I've got this exactly where I want it. And the way that I do that is I use you see the needle moving. So I'm going to make sure that the needle, I'm going to act like I'm going to pierce it but bring it right down. And if it's not coming down exactly where I want it, I feel like it's coming down a little bit too much on the white stitching rim. So I'm gonna bring the needle back up, lift the foot, and just move my garment just a little to the right. Bring the needle back down, and it is now exactly where I want it. The magic with the zipper foot is that it allows you to really get in there and see where you are stitching. You can see exactly in the opening where the needle is going. There's no obstruction to your view. And now that I am happy with the placement, I'm going to go ahead and stitch and walk you through how to do this, all right? So I'm going to use my manual knob on the right side of my machine to do the very first stitch. I'm not going to do a back stitch because this is a patch and I don't want to, do too many stitches on the patch. And now we're just going to go ahead and stitch. And I'm just going to take my time. This is what I do when I have what I feel like is a little more of a free hand or looser stitch or something that is rounded like this. I take my time. I do not rush through it. I go as slow as I need to, and you do the same thing. And if you feel like the stitch is going too far left or right, you just adjust like I showed you before, and do that until it is the garment underneath the foot is where you want it. And I just want to note here, because the outer rim of the patch is stark white and the inner part is a navy blue, you want to make sure that you get the stitch right on the background, or else it will show up on this part, okay? Now you want to make sure that you take your pin out before you start stitching past, where it is. And it's not pointing inward, so I don't think that there's a great chance that you'll stitch over it. But the foot is pressing down and it's going to keep this in place, so you really don't need the pin anymore. I don't like pins next to my sewing needles, so I just take them out. So now we're coming right again to a stick pin. I'm going to take this out because the foot is holding the patch down and I don't need it anymore. And I don't want to run the risk of stitching over it. You can break your machine needle if you do that. Again, going very slowly so that we do not stitch over the white and that we can get it as close to the edge where we want it as possible, right inside of there. And we're almost at the beginning, because this is, you see the string right there, that's where it started. So we're almost done. All right, so I am happy with where we're ending, and I'm going to do just maybe 2 or 3 back stitches. My back stitch is right up here, and I'm going to just do that. All right, and there we go. So what I'm doing is I am removing this, and you can see the threads right here. I'm gonna just clip them off with my mini scissors here. And on the bottom. All right, guys, I just wanted to show you the finished product for my project and inspire you to do this if you have not tried it. If you've got a patch that you want to sew onto a garment, it is easy peasy. All right, so this is it. And I want to show you really quickly what the inside stitching looks like. I think that's pretty good for someone who doesn't do freehand a lot, okay? So if I can do this and I don't do it very often, I know that you can do this, okay? So, finished product. If you've got those patches, stitch them on there. You don't need any special machinery. If you've got a domestic sewing machine, try it out, all right? Any questions, reach out, let me know. All right, guys, so that concludes our tutorial on how to sew patches onto garments with our domestic sewing machines. Now, if you have more questions like these, I would like to invite you to join our private Wear What You Make community, where you will get access to the Wear What You Make Master Sewing course. You will get access to our growing library of tutorials just like these on how do I fill in the blank. And most importantly, you will be able to get help, individualized help from me on your sewing projects right there in the community. I've got 3-month passes right now where you can try the community out at no cost to you. You get access to everything that I just mentioned, and most importantly, you can finish that sewing project that I know that you're probably working on, or start the sewing project that you might be too intimidated to start, all right? So go to 3pass.wearwhatyoumake.com. The link is gonna be below. All you gotta do is tap it, check it out, see what we're about. And again, 3 months, no cost to you, get access to everything, get help on those sewing projects, and start sewing now, all right? All right, guys, so that's all I got for now. Make sure to keep on sewing, and we'll talk later. All right, bye.